Welcome to Sweet Nightmare, my fellow bravehearts, where we dive deep into the darkest tales ever told. Tonight we unravel a story of ancient curses and chilling fates in the Devil's Compass. Join us as we journey with a group of archaeologists who uncover a relic from a forgotten time, only to find themselves entangled in a deadly game with an evil force beyond their comprehension. So turn off the lights, lock your doors and windows, and brace yourself for a night of terror. In the remote deserts of Egypt, Dr. Evelyn Carter, a renowned archaeologist, had just made what she believed would be the discovery of a lifetime. Her team, consisting of 4 other members, stumbled upon an unmarked tomb hidden beneath the shifting sands. The air was thick with excitement as they broke the seal and ventured inside, their torches casting eerie shadows on the ancient walls adorned with cryptic symbols. Evelyn's heart started racing rapidly as they approached the central chamber. In the middle of the room, upon an ornate pedestal, lay a beautifully crafted compass. Unlike any they had seen before, its needle was made of obsidian, and its base was inscribed with unsettlingly detailed depictions of torment and suffering. Intrigued, Evelyn carefully lifted the artifact, unaware of the evil force that had been lying dormant for centuries. Back at their base camp, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Evelyn and her team, Michael, a stoic historian, Sarah, an eager young archaeologist, Tom, the skeptical technician, and Lisa, the team's medic, were all feeling the effects of the compass's presence. Strange occurrences began to plague the camp. Shadows moved independently of their sources, whispers echoed in the wind, and a pervasive sense of dread settled over them. One night, as Evelyn studied the compass in her tent, she noticed something peculiar. The needle seemed to move on its own, pointing not to magnetic north, but to an unknown direction. Driven by curiosity, she gathered the team to discuss her findings. Despite their growing unease, they decided to follow the compass's direction the next day. As dawn broke, they set out into the desert, the compass guiding their every step. Hours turned into days, and the journey took a toll on them. Michael, ever the skeptic, was the first to succumb to the compass's influence. He became increasingly paranoid, claiming that he saw figures in the distance watching them. One evening, after setting up camp, Michael wandered off into the night, muttering about finding the truth. The team searched frantically but found no trace of him until the next morning. What they discovered would haunt them forever. Michael's body was impaled on a towering rock formation, his face frozen in an expression of pure terror. His blood had been used to inscribe symbols on the rocks, matching those on the compass. Michael's death shattered the group's morale. Fear and suspicion crept in as they continued their journey. Sarah, who had been particularly close to Michael, was hit hardest. She became withdrawn, her eyes hollow, and started speaking to herself in hushed tones. Evelyn tried to console her, but the sense of impending doom was too strong. One night, Sarah's whispers grew louder. She claimed she could hear Michael's voice calling her from beyond. The following morning, Sarah was gone. They found her deep in the desert, having clawed her eyes out, chanting incoherently about the compass of the damned. Her lifeless body lay twisted in the sand, her hands still clutching the bloody remains of her eyes. With only 3 of them left, Evelyn, Tom and Lisa pressed on, driven by a mix of determination and desperation. The compass continued to guide them, its needle pointing unwaveringly to their destination. Tom, ever the rationalist, began to question the wisdom of their journey, but Evelyn was resolute. She believed that understanding the compass's origin would somehow break its curse. As they traversed a narrow canyon, Tom's skepticism turned to horror. He saw shadows writhing along the canyon walls, twisting into monstrous shapes. That night, he confided in Evelyn, admitting that he felt something was stalking them. In a moment of vulnerability, he revealed a deep-seated fear of the supernatural, something he had always dismissed. Lisa, who had remained the most composed, began to experience vivid nightmares. She dreamed of an ancient temple, a place of unspeakable evil. One night she awoke screaming, her body covered in inexplicable cuts and bruises. As Evelyn tried to soothe her, Lisa described the temple in detail. Evelyn realized with a jolt that the compass's direction matched Lisa's dream. The next day they reached the temple, a colossal structure half buried in the sand. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and an unnatural silence enveloped the area. Inside they found a chamber filled with horrifying relics, mummified remains, torture devices, and walls smeared with dried blood. As they delved deeper into the temple, the compass's needle spun wildly before pointing directly to a massive door. With great effort they pushed it open, revealing a room dominated by an ominous altar. Atop it lay an ancient manuscript, the source of the compass's power. Evelyn approached the altar, her mind racing. She knew that this was the heart of the curse. As she reached for the manuscript, the shadows in the room coalesced into a monstrous figure. It was a being of pure malevolence, its form constantly shifting and writhing. In a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of hell, it spoke, "You have brought the compass home, now you will pay the price." Tom was seized by invisible forces, his body contorted in unnatural ways before being hurled against the wall. He lay motionless, his eyes wide open in death. Lisa, driven to madness, began to laugh hysterically, her mind shattered by the horrors she had witnessed. Evelyn, fueled by a desperate resolve, grabbed the manuscript and began to read the incantations within. The words burned her tongue, but she pressed on, hoping to banish the evil entity. The shadows screamed in rage, their forms dissolving and reconstituting around her. As she reached the final verse, Lisa lunged at her, possessed by the entity. In a struggle, Evelyn managed to push Lisa away, but not before Lisa's eyes rolled back and she collapsed, lifeless. The temple began to crumble, the walls shaking as the malevolent force was driven back. Evelyn, clutching the compass, fled the collapsing structure. Outside, the desert was eerily calm, the nightmare seemingly over. But the compass's needle still moved, now pointing back the way they had come. Evelyn, the sole survivor, understood the grim reality. The curse was not broken. The compass would continue its deadly journey, claiming more lives. Evelyn buried the compass in the deepest part of the desert, hoping to delay its next victim. She returned to city, haunted by the faces of her fallen friends and the knowledge that the evil would rise again. Years later, a new team of archaeologists uncovered an unmarked tomb in the Egyptian desert. Inside, they found a beautifully crafted compass, its needle made of obsidian, pointing to an unknown direction. As they lifted it from its resting place, the air grew cold and shadows danced on the walls. The devil's compass had claimed its next victims. Remember, the next time you find something ancient and forgotten, it might not be a treasure. It might just be your doom. Good night, and remember, some discoveries are better left unknown.